Well, good morning and welcome to a little video. This one's a little bit of housekeeping as well as whatever it'll be. Pardon me, I got hiccups. I had somebody a week or so ago ask me if I could repost the last Zoom meeting that had the music at the end, the light session at the end. Pardon me. But if you go and get a drink of water. And I haven't done that. Usually if somebody asks something, I'll do it. But in this case, I got a clear no, not to do that. So, and the reason being, and I've explained to our group as well, we won't be posting any more Zoom meetings on YouTube. Is they're a bit personal, and the transactions that take place in a lot of those are, it sort of falls into the sacred territory, you know, where you sort of want to honor the person and their process a little bit without it being a spectator sport. And in a sense, it sometimes is a bit like a sport, an emotional sport, a mental sport. But we're just going to keep those for people who actually want to participate. So the Zoom meeting, it's like Jesus says, you know, like you're either in or out, either be hot or cold. So if you want to be part of the Zoom meeting, contact Tyna and she'll send you the link and everything for that. Otherwise, feel free to do whatever else you would do if you weren't at the Zoom meeting. All right, well, that's about it from that. Like, I know that's a bit sort of rudimentary. I don't know how to pad that out, but it's it's basically in or out. So, and I guess along the lines of that too, like if I was to just continue on generally with either in or out, hot or cold, when Jesus says either be hot or cold, we're looking at an idea of pursuing peace of mind through the healing of the split mind or the separated mind idea or belief that is prevalent in the psychology of the human thought system. Pardon me. So you can't do that partially, right? It's either do it completely or not at all. Jesus says also in with the Course in Miracles, this course is to be believed in its entirety or not at all. And some of the stuff you read in there is going to be kind of hard to believe. And I was having an interesting chat with Tyna the other day, and she was saying that the temptation to think that some parts of the Course are talking about, oh, those other people and not me, is really strong, because the closer you get to your own blocks and your own fears and everything, the harder your ego works to make a defense against those so you don't have to release them. And it will even use spiritual rhetoric as a defense against looking at what you need to take responsibility for, what you need to own within yourself in order to heal from it. And one of those, and you can call that spiritual bypassing if you like. One of those, as an example, I suppose, is where somebody's telling you something about yourself or presenting you a case for something, and you reply to them along the lines of, well, if you see that in me, it must be in you. I'm just a mirror of you. And it's like, well, it wouldn't be coming to you if it weren't in you. You're like, you have to include everything in, because remember, there is no separation. Dave, there is no separation. And it's easy to play the game of keeping somebody or some situation or something separate from you by saying that, oh, it must be you. Well, that's separation. If there is a you and then there's a me that it applies or doesn't apply to, that's separation. And that's what we're here to heal. So being aware of those little ego traps, being aware of that reflecting, deflecting posture of thought is important, because that can become quite a, what would you call it? Quite a familiar and at the same time unrecognized defense. And yes, I had that defense for a long time. Eventually, you learn to become defenseless and to just simply include in everything that comes to you. And it took me many years, and I've I have great love and deep apologies to all of those people that are trying to make me see sense about myself all those years ago, and maybe even today, I don't know. When faced with shortcomings of character or any kind of criticism, because these sorts of things are self-reinforcing identity markers that have been projected out into the world. Remember, the stuff you've projected from your own mind, your own projections, are just as powerful in denial of truth about yourself, even your false self, as are the ideas that you hold about yourself consciously in your mind that you admire yourself for. Right? So you can't escape the effects of your thinking. You take your mind with you everywhere you go, and you're going to see it out there if you don't take responsibility for it in here. Dave. So it's either all or nothing. And you can't have like part of peace. You can't have a little bit of peaceful mind. That's not it. Peace is either a total state of mind or it's not at all. You can't have a whole battlefield and everybody suddenly drops their weapons and decides on peace, and still have a few people fighting on the edges. That's not peace. There's still conflict going on. You may not notice it. It may be out of your vision. It may be way over there somewhere you don't even, you'd swear black and blue that you were peaceful. But if you turn and have a look, oh, look over there, what's happening? Which is why I always stress also to get out of your comfort zone, to get out of the zones that you are in, so you can, oh shit, I didn't know that was there. Right? And when I say I didn't know that was there, it's always the case that I didn't know I was holding on to those old ideas about myself. Right? Remember that a comfort zone is something that you build around yourself. You construct it mentally as an idea of, this is my safe place, or this feels like my home. It has all those hallmarks of support and warmth and comfort and all of those sorts of things. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a place. It can be a person. It can be a situation. I love going down to play darts and have a beer every Thursday night or whatever, or I like to go to the bridge club, and because it makes me feel a certain way about myself. And all of a sudden, when you don't do those things, it brings up a sort of an anxiety, a bit of existentialism in there, where there's a gap, right? And then you start looking for something else to fill that gap. Oh, what am I going to do Thursday night if I don't? The bridge club is shut this Thursday for renovations. And then you start making plans. Maybe I'll get together with whoever and we'll have bridge at their house. Oh, that's a relief. Oof. For a minute there, I didn't have to. I thought I'd have to sit in my emptiness and my silence and process it. Well, that's what we're supposed to be doing. But you can't do it in a comfort zone. I mean, it's almost impossible. I mean, you've set the comfort zone up. I've set the comfort zone up behind me, specifically to avoid looking at my emptiness, to avoid feeling my existential anxiety, to avoid having to confront the unreality of my self-identity. Once you accept the unreality of your self-identity and you die to those old ideas of thinking that you're actually a something, then it's, it's whatever. But the acceptance of it isn't a concept. The acceptance of it is transitioning through the removal of the blocks to love's awareness within you, so that you can see clearly from all aspects of your experience on earth and realize that there's no conflict going on anywhere. It's like, oh, thank goodness for that. Which is why, especially in the beginning of the workbook lessons, the emphasis is quite heavy on change. Right? Now, initially, You might have change in your familiar surroundings, in your home, your work, your relationships, things like that. And I often have people tell me, oh, I started doing Course in Miracles and my relationship fell apart. And it's like, well, it was always only ever going to fall apart anyway. Course in Miracles probably speeded it up, but, getting on track with healing, getting on track with atonement, getting on track with the journey in life that the universe has prepared for you and has in mind for you, as you being part of that, often necessitates radical change. And if you're unwilling to change, if you're unwilling to say yes to the whole thing, then you can't say yes to part of it. You're just kidding yourself. You're just sitting there doing the lessons and attending the Zooms and doing whatever it is you're doing, and nothing's actually happening. You're just going through some maniacal kind of association with the concepts where you're convincing yourself that the longer you stay in it, the more that you're actually doing whatever it is that's required, but you're not, because look, oh shit, there's conflict over there and you didn't know about it. You haven't stepped out of the comfort zone. You haven't been out of the familiarity of your normal conceptual associations or your regular conceptual associations to take on board other aspects of your conscious domain in the world. One of the best things that I always remember when I was traveling, when my body was younger, when the vessel was younger, was traveling Europe and how confronting that was and how stressful it was. It brought up all this stuff every day, changing money and getting ripped off and going to the wrong bus and all these sorts of things that when you're young and feeling entitled and like you should have a good holiday and everything starts going wrong, you get like, it brings up so much stuff. And of course, back then I didn't have a Course in Miracles. I didn't have a purpose for using my anxiety or my stress about anything. So, but nowadays, very good. But if you're honest about everything, if you really keep an open mind to stuff, then everything becomes useful, right? But just bear in mind, it's easy to convince yourself that you've got a full connection or a true connection or a whole awakening happening in your mind from within a comfort zone, right? Oh, shit. So it's either all in or all out. You either believe this course in its entirety or not at all. And you're either willing to look at everything from all aspects, to embrace or to accept what it is that is symbolic and representative of denial from every avenue, from every aspect, or not at all. There's no point healing just what's directly in front of you. It's the stuff that's hidden deep down. It's like Jesus says, seek for the blocks and find them. You've got to seek for them. You've got to root them out. You've got to be an adventurer. You've got to be a crusader. This is the last crusade, right? You can't root them out from your armchair. Quite often you have to put in a lot of effort to break out of familiar groups or familiar patterns of maybe you're an introvert and you don't like to go out, you don't like to socialize, things like that, and you have to push against that. It's like, well, I'm going to force myself to go out. I'm going to take a step into a whole new thing. I don't know how, I don't know where, but I'm willing to do that, and the universe will guide me, will show me whatever, and then something's going to come along. When you open up that willingness, something's going to come along, because the purpose of the universe is healing, and it's going to present you with an opportunity. And you're either going to fall back into old patterns of introverted sort of, oh, no, thanks, I'm fine, I'm all right, that doesn't sound like me. Or you're going to realize that everything's you, and you're going to open up to it and say, yes, okay. And you're going to go in a defenseless, maybe defended, I don't know, but hopefully go defenselessly into whatever that situation or event is, and see where it pokes at you, see where it prods at you. Oh shit, look at that, I didn't know that was there. and then more healing can occur. And the more you do that, the more you stay out of your comfort zone, the more you, it's like I read a beautiful thing by Osho, and I talked about it in the Zoom the other day, where I'm not a huge fan of Osho, but he is a good or was a good teacher. Much misunderstood. But where he was talking about, he just goes with the flow, right? He just says yes to whatever, and the universe provides, right? In his case, provided quite well. Made an incredible demonstration. But he doesn't plan anything for himself. He just opens up and keeps his mind open to the yes, to the give up the world and follow me in its totality, wherever that leads, wherever that takes him. You know, and you'll go through these changes. You'll go through these sort of divesting changes that release you from old ideas about yourself and allow you to see that there are other ideas about yourself held in falsity that perhaps you have long forgotten about or have outlived their usefulness, but probably still retain some value back here in consciousness just in case. And quite often you'll find yourself in a place and you'll be like, oh man, I remember this. I remember why I left this town, or I remember why I left this group of people, or I remember why I left this situation or this work environment. Toxic this, toxic that, whatever. And it's like, well, you've got to confront all those things. You've got to look at those things. There is no toxicity outside yourself. There is nothing outside yourself that you need to run from or change the landscape of, other than your own comfort zones. Because everything's contained in your mind in thought. The world you see is nothing more than an outward picturing of your own ideas about yourself in symbolic form. That's it. I mean, why does a tree look like a tree? Why does a kitchen look like a kitchen? Why does a body look like a body? It could look like anything. If you've ever seen those, the Marvel movies where they go into the multiverse and there's universes that are made of paint and universes that are made of weird stuff, you know, like why does it look like how it looks? It's like, well, this world was set up as a place that can be manageable, that can be reasonably, I mean, the whole platform of the world is unstable. At any moment an asteroid could, you know, and so accepting it how it is in all of its facets. Oh yeah, even over there, oh look, that's cool now, no more conflict. Accepting it how it is, exactly as it is, and allowing that, despite that you may not like it, despite that it might put you into that moment where, oh my God, I'm feeling so empty, I'm feeling my emptiness, my existentialism is coming up, all this anxiety is rising, and then allowing that rising emotionality to be healed through the Holy Spirit. Don't forget the last part, right? Offer it in prayer to the Holy Spirit. Help me, Father. Help me with this. I've got all this existential anxiety coming up. I've got all this dread. I've got all this terror. I've got all this everything coming up. I need a miracle. I need help, right? And you offer that to the light. You can't bring the light to the darkness because the darkness isn't real. You give your illusion of reality to the light, and out of the two things, the light shines away the darkness, right? It's impossible for darkness to overcome light. If there is light and there is darkness, darkness is always there. So the light is the light is always there. Just because you're unaware of it in your own consciousness doesn't mean it's not there. Just means you're not looking the right way, which is what repent means. Turn around, face the other way, walk into the light. The light is there. All you're doing is looking at your shadow with the light behind you, right? Turn around, face the light. You won't see the shadow. And the shadows, you know, like that's why they call it shadow work, I guess. I prefer to call it mirror work. It's the same thing, but... So it's all or nothing. Right? If you want to come to the Zooms, there we go, I did pad it out. If you want to come to the Zooms, come to the Zooms. Contact Tyna. If that seems to be embarrassing or confronting or whatever, then include that in as part of the idea of healing. I'm going to feel humiliated if I have to sit there and start crying, or I'm going to feel embarrassed if Dave asks me a question and I have to spill the beans about someone or something and realize that I'm actually responsible, not the other person, etc. That's what it's for. That's the whole point of it. That's the whole point. Healing is an interactive, participative, collaborative venture that we join together for. And 90% of the time, it's not comfortable. It's not how we want it, and it's not on our own terms. But it's the same if you go to a doctor. The doctor gives you a prescription. You don't generally get the prescription on your own terms. The doctor gives you what they think is the thing that is the best for your condition. In the condition of denial, forgiveness is the best thing. All right, I love you. See you in the next Zoom, which I think will be Monday. And yes, we are trying to, or Tyna is trying to organise something for the European crew. She's had a few guys comment that they would love to do a Zoom that's a more user-friendly time zone. So that's like it's nighttime over there when it's daytime here. So I might have to do a late one and you guys might have to do an early one. I don't know how that's going to look, but Tyna will work it out. She's very good at all that sort of stuff. All right, peace. Love you.